Welcome to another YouTube video. Today we are in deepest, darkest Dorset at the wonderful Shillingstone project. I call it a project because it's not a railway yet, and that word yet is very, very key. So this bridge here hasn't carried a train since 1966. The railway itself opened in 1863, and in 2001 a team of volunteers, a wonderful, I don't call them a team, I call them an army because there's so many of them, which is fantastic, of volunteers began to restore this wonderful building, well, a station. Now, we're not there yet, but if you stay watching this video, we're going to go up this path and we're going to go up that way and we're going to explore Shillingstone Station. There's going to be an awful lot to see. You've got the museums, you've got the signal boxes, you've got the cafe, you've got the old platforms. There really is so much to see and explore, and if you stay watching we will have a look at that. I will add at this stage, if you could subscribe to this channel, I would be so grateful. We're trying to build this YouTube page, and if you could subscribe to it, that would be great. Whilst we're stood here, one final thing I would like to add: 3 miles that direction is a little place called Sturminster Newton. Now, the long-term goal of the project, of the Shillingstone project, is to run a train to Sturminster Newton, but there are a few obstacles in the way, which is a great shame, and it'll delay them. But in the meantime, the short-term project is to run a train so passengers can travel over this bridge up that way, a little way, and then down to Shillingstone Station, which is down there. So come and join us on our journey today. Wave for YouTube. This is known as a USA tank shunting engine. It's a steam locomotive, and it was designed for moving wagons around the docks, I believe. So it was only ever a shunting engine, and this is now available for use. They steam this occasionally. It recently returned to life, and the long-term plan is it will pull trains. Well, it'll probably pull just a brake van up the track that direction, about half a mile that direction. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. But that is what we refer to as the USA tank. It's a funny looking thing. It's not the most handsome of locomotive, but at the end of the day it is a steam locomotive, and it's fantastic to have it preserved. The closer you get to the station, the more there is to look at. That's the signal box, as you can see. That is another USA tank, but that one is nowhere near finished restoration. And then that is a tiny little Wickcham Trolley. That's smaller than the Wickcham Trolley that myself and Tristan rode on at Midsummer Norton the other day. And then that is going that way. That's looking north. You can see the other USA tank, and they're doing some work with digger crane there. And then one of the units just over there, I think it's that one with the grey doors, that is their building, and then that's where they're restoring the brake van, which we'll hopefully see shortly. But we will continue walking on now down towards the station. We're now on the main platform at Shillingstone. This station has 2 platforms. It's also got what's known as a run-round loop. So you can see there's 2 tracks. Now, at any heritage railway, you often find 2 tracks, and that's a run-round loop. So it means that, in theory, you can arrive in one platform. The locomotive would detach from the carriages, go up to the head shunt, run round past its carriages, go up to another set of points, and then couple back onto its carriages. So once again, as you can see, we've got 2 tracks. So this is a run round loop in theory. Now, why only in theory? Because this carriage here, this is the overspill from the cafe. This is the cafe, which, as you can see, is quite busy, and they've installed this carriage to provide additional seating. So unfortunately, this run round loop cannot currently be used as a run round loop because it's got a carriage in the way. But there is good news. They don't need to run round at this stage, because when they do start running trains, it will be just break van rides or Wickcham Trolley rides. They won't need to run round. So there we go. That is explanation of a run round loop and why they don't need a run round loop at this stage. Let's go and explore some more. We are now at the southern end of Shillingstone Station. You can make out the two platforms here and the southern end of the run round loop. We are at a second level crossing. Now, if you look this direction, you will see a buffer stop. That is the end of the line going that direction. But if the buffer stop wasn't there, if you carried on going, eventually you would get to a place called Blandford Forum, approximately 5 miles to the south. But the good news is, if you've got a bike or you like walking, you can get there by using your own power. Myself and Tristan have walked that, we've cycled that we've cycled on our bikes, which is a nice thing to do. And this is the southern end of the station. Let's carry on exploring. This is one of my favourite parts of Shillingstone. We are at the goods loading dock. This is a dead-end bay platform, and this is where goods would have been loaded from rail onto the wagons, maybe even with the assistance of the restored crane, which you can see here. There are a few wagons here. The one at the end there, where those people are just going in, that is the cinema coach, and in there you've got films of the trains going through the station back in the old days. You know, sort of gives you a glimpse of how it used to look. This one here has got artifacts from the old days, such as the old-fashioned TVs and stuff like that. That's like what a home would look like, what used to look like. All sorts of different things to see. And let's go and have a look inside, see what we can see. Hot Point is a name you might recognise. Believe it or not, that's a washing machine, and we're inside a house, but it's not a house, it's a railway wagon. But this is what a house possibly would have looked like. There's Doris, she's doing some hoovering, very old-fashioned hoover. Then you've got the TV, the fireplace, and look at that for an armchair. Absolutely fantastic. Now, I remember when I grew up, when I was a small child in the early 80s, we had a very cheap dining table like that because we didn't have much money. That's the oven. And there's some milk, I expect that's going off. And that's a radio, I believe, yeah, that is. I'm pretty sure that's a radio and a record player there. And then if we go into the next wagon, this has got some interesting things in, like pigeons, milk churn, suitcases, and some eggs. Let's have an egg sandwich. Let's not. What a fantastic facility this is. Absolutely super. We've just found this, and to me it's giving off vibes of the Titfield Thunderbolt. I'm not sure if you've seen that film, but there's a scene in the Titfield Thunderbolt where somebody's living in this coach. This is an original carriage, third-class carriage, that would have been used on this line on the Somerset and Dorset Railway, and it was withdrawn in about 1930, and it's one of only 5 survivors of this type, third-class passenger carriage. Now for the good bit, the interesting bit. At part of its life, because obviously this is really, really old, but at part of its life, after the wheels and the chassis have been removed, it was actually being used, you're not going to believe this, it was being used as a changing room at a tennis club. So it would have been on the edge of the tennis court, and they used it as a changing room. There you go. So not a summer house, and it wasn't somebody's living in it, or somebody might have lived in it. But isn't this a fantastic addition to Shillingstone Station? Absolutely fantastic. I am not one of those, and we're not going to talk about what one of those is. We're going to talk about vacuum. Why are we going to talk about vacuum? Why are we going to talk about brakes? We're in a brake van, a guard's brake van that would have been on a freight train. This big wheel here is the handbrake. At the end of the journey or at the end of the day, you would screw that down, and that puts the brake blocks on to this vehicle alone. Vacuum is the brakes on the entire train, and this is applied, normally this is applied by the driver. It goes up to 30, but it wouldn't get that far because it's 21 inches of vacuum. That is when the brakes on the train are released at 21 inches. So we're going to picture the scene. We're going to pretend that we are the guard, and in front of us is a train, a goods train, and on the front of that is the locomotive. The driver of the train and the locomotive, to apply the brakes, he would be applying the vacuum brake. And when he applies the vacuum brake, the needle will drop below 21, probably drop to about 15, and that would be rubbing the brakes, and it would be applying the brakes on the entire train. This gauge would have been mounted somewhere in this brake van, and the guard was then able to see whether or when the driver was applying the brakes. But it was also featured a veranda at both ends, and when this comes into use, eventually this will be at the Shillingstone Railway project. Passengers will be able to ride on this, and they'll have this lovely panoramic view of the fantastic Dorset countryside, and I am really looking forward to that because I think it'll be super. I'm starting to get hungry now. Let's go and explore the cafe. 3 hours have vanished just like that. So that proves that when you come to Shillingstone, there is an awful lot to see and do. And we've not seen it all because we've not been in the signal box because we've just run out of time. This is the end of the video now. Thank you so much for watching all this far through, if you have done. And just a quick reminder, if you could comment, like and subscribe, we would be so grateful. And thanks again for watching. And if you do get a chance to come here, honestly, this is such a great place to come and visit. Next year, that diesel shunter there will hopefully be pulling people up and passengers up and down on brake van rides up a short section of track that direction. Hopefully, fingers crossed.